Eagles fans, you can all let out a collective sigh. Because Nick before had them not even making the playoffs last year, and then they won the Super Bowl. So if Nick had them winning the division, it would have been like, uh-oh. Like, oh, man. In 23, he had the Ravens not even making the playoffs, and they went to the AFC Championship game. In 24, he had the Chicago Bears getting to the Super Bowl, and they didn't even make it to the playoffs. So it would have been concerning if the Eagles were actually listed to win the division. And so now, the defense that Nick thought last year was going to be so awful, he thinks now this year they lost too many players and it's devastating. Yeah. That's real rich. What's there to even really say at this point? It's so funny because I'm just reminded. I made a few videos of this last year. At the end of the Super Bowl, after the Super Bowl, I went back and was like, let's look at that predictions week and see what he's, what he said. And recently I was getting in conversations with, of course, Kansas City Chiefs fans, because they just, they still got some PTSD from their Super Bowl loss. And they were going on, and now they're trying to gaslight Eagles fans, saying, oh, no one doubted Jalen Hurts. No one doubted Jalen Hurts. No one said that Jalen Hurts was a problem. And I was like, okay, whatever you say. And so I went up and I saw what Nick had for the predictions going against the Commanders. And his exact words were, the Eagles are going to lose this game. Jalen Hurts is injured. The Commanders are going to sell out to stop the run, which therefore means Jalen Hurts can't throw the ball. And they can't do anything if they can't run, and that Nick Sirianni is a doofus. That was his exact wording. And so now here we are now, just like, nah, Saquon Barkley's not going to be good enough this year. There's too many losses on defense, and Sirianni's not a good coach. They're going to make the playoffs. But they're not that, they're just not as good. And it's like, okay. The ashamed thing is that I think it's a realistic take to have the Eagles and the Commanders compete for the division. 100%. 100%. I'm not delusional. Where just because a team that I predicted was going to be great, and they win the Super Bowl, now that I just automatically think, yep, they're just going to keep being great. Yep, here we go. That's not how I operate. It's really not. And I do think that the Commanders are a great team, and now especially that they took care of Terry McLaurin. But you have to understand what the actual take is. This is a fundamental lack of belief and respect of a team like the Philadelphia Eagles, whether it's Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, Fangio, just the defensive pieces that they have currently, Sirianni. Like, this is saying, my phone's going to go off. Okay, we survived it. I'm going to call him Nick Sirianni. I got to just say his name real fast so it doesn't set off my phone. This is a lack of belief in them as a whole. Right? This isn't just saying, this roster's just, they lost some pieces. And so what are you going to do? They won a Super Bowl, so naturally you lose some pieces. And hey, the Commanders, they're getting better and stuff like that. This is like, I do not think Jalen Hurts is that great of a quarterback. I do not think Sirianni is that good of a coach. I think Fangio was only able to get lightning in a bottle. And this team was really only successful because of Saquon Barkley, and that's Saquon Barkley is unlikely to have another season where he's essentially breaking the rushing record. And if all that logic was true, then you would say, yeah, that makes sense. Absolutely. But then you're failing to understand that the Philadelphia Eagles have been great for years and that they're incredibly well run. And just because you don't know some of the names on that defense now doesn't mean that they're not going to be wildly productive, because you didn't believe Cooper DeJean Mitchell were going to be successful for that Philadelphia Eagles team. You didn't think Zach Baldwin was going to be successful. You didn't think Fangio was a good hire. You didn't think Kellen Moore was a good hire. You didn't think Saquon Barkley was a good signing. They had a whole segment about, what's the guy's name? Howard Eskin, a media guy for Philadelphia, saying they're going to Carson Wentz Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts is going to be Carson Wentz. They were like, see, this is a problem. And this is what ends up being a lose-lose situation for the Philadelphia Eagles, because it's like, unless they go back-to-back, which is incredibly difficult to do, they're like, see, I told you so. I told you so. And it's like, come on. And even when you look at these other teams, like even if they don't win the division, it's like, see, they're not that good. They're not as good as you think they were. And it's like, well, for the last like 7 years or however many years, the Bills haven't really had to deal with a realistic threat. The Chiefs haven't had to really deal with a realistic threat. The Ravens kind of with the Bengals, but not really, because the Cincinnati Bengals are just one of the most cartoonishly poorly run teams maybe in the history of the NFL, right? And it's like the Eagles have the disadvantage of them actually having a degree of competence right now with the Commanders and even the Cowboys for years. I mean, Jerry Jones is definitely getting worse and worse and worse, but like that team has consistently has been like top 3, top 2, top 1 in most Pro Bowlers and All Pros. Something you can't say about the Cincinnati Bengals. Something you can't say about the Las Vegas Raiders or the Denver Broncos. So like the Eagles have actually had a harder go at it. Now, they've also been given a lot of luxuries because the Commanders with Dan Snyder were absolutely just disastrously run. And Jerry Jones is just Jerry Jones. And the New York Giants, God bless their hearts, I don't know what they've been doing for the last 10 plus years or so. So don't get me wrong, like these things kind of come in cycles right now. But like you can see where things can still be competitive is the point that I'm trying to make. Even though I don't think that the Cowboys have been great as those records had shown them, where they were winning 12 games, they are still winning 12 games. That is still a lot better than the Chargers winning 5 games and the Raiders winning like 4 games and whatnot, right? And Dak Prescott, obviously I don't think he's this top 5 quarterback, but he is a legitimate quarterback in the NFL and a bona fide starter and can play big in big-ish games, maybe not the biggest games, but he could still kind of do something. And again, the Commanders are going to be legit. I don't think they're going to be this scrub walk in the park team either. And to me, that's more the take if you're now trying to figure out, do the Eagles not win the division this year? That is closer to the take rather than they're just not good enough. Think they were kind of lucky last year, kind of a lightning in a pan type thing, and Saquon Barkley, and I don't know, really how good is Fangio? And they lost a lot of people, and Sirianni's not that good of a coach, and Jalen Hurts isn't that good of a quarterback, and it's like, okay, fine. We will see. But this is great. It's a shame that the Eagles weren't listed as 3rd or 4th. I think maybe you'd have a better chance now at making the Super Bowl and at winning the Super Bowl. But I think still not winning the NFC East is a good thing here. Is a good thing. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Philadelphia Eagles coming up short in the NFC East and just not being that good, not being able to overcome, I guess, any adversity, because they've never shown to be able to do that? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.